Welcome back, in-game community. I'm Pierre, he's Chris. We're here to help you pick the right running backs late in the draft. Who among these picks are the ones that we're targeting right now that we're going to stash for the fantasy playoffs? Before we tell you our picks, let me remind you, you can join us on Discord absolutely free. Check out the information in the description below and click that link. Also, if you want even more content like this, we have exclusive Patreon-only videos to help you dominate your draft. And throughout the season, we'll also be giving our patrons exclusive access to a start-sit show on Sunday mornings to help you set those winning lineups. Same thing we do on Saturday for the general public, but we guarantee your questions will be answered. Now, Chris, who are the hidden gems? Who's the guy that you are going to draft more often than not when you're going to take a chance on that potential league winner?
Well, I'm going to start with a guy that I've talked about ever since the draft. I feel like I talk about him way too much. But just in case you've never seen any of our videos, I got to talk about Rachaad White again. Because Rachaad White maybe didn't land in the best possible spot because, yeah, they still have Leonard Fournette. But he landed in a pretty darn good spot because Leonard Fournette already showing signs that he may not be that motivated for the season, right? He got paid. He's got a Super Bowl. Yeah, maybe Leonard Fournette isn't really, hungry as he used to be. Well, he is hungry, but not hungry as far as, being great at football. And we saw this in Jacksonville, right? He had the same issue in Jacksonville. And he had the same issue when he came into the NFL draft, right? He came in out of shape. This is just an issue he has. Rachaad White, on the other hand, is trying to make his way in his NFL career. And Rachaad White was drafted by the Bucs to fill a role. And I feel like that role is the pass-catching running back because Leonard Fournette was not very good as a pass catcher. He was okay, but he was nothing special. Rachaad White is special as a pass catcher. Oh, and Rachaad White is also really good as a runner. So if Leonard Fournette either A, isn't playing as well as the Bucs would like, or B, gets injured and misses a significant part of the season or the end of the season when it matters the most, Rachaad White was going to step into an every down role for a Tampa Bay offense with Tom Brady, and he's absolutely going to win leagues. And when you're drafting running backs in this range that are down at the bottom of your bench, that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for a guy who might give you, 8 points, 9 points. You're looking for guys who could potentially help you win down the stretch. Rachaad White can absolutely do that. I feel like I talk about him in every video, and I feel like I draft him in every draft, but there's a reason. I really feel like he's winning championships this year.
Yeah, and look at, who is hungry? It's White. We've heard all the quotes he's talking in training camp about he wants to be the best. He wants to take that job. I mean, he might do it. I'm just saying Rachaad White has the talent, and he definitely has the motivation, and he's in a great situation. So, look, every draft I'm not in with you, I'm also taking Rachaad White. All right, now, Philadelphia backfield is a little tricky because it's basically a three-headed monster, but that doesn't mean there's not value to be had. I'm not going with Miles Sanders early. I'm going with Kenneth Gainwell late, though, because you know what? He's the guy who is their pass-catching back. All right, we know this. That's one of the reasons they brought him along, and he was an excellent receiver last year. Miles Sanders, not so much, right? That's just never been his thing. He can do it, but Gainwell is their third down back. Gainwell is also the guy who saw more red zone opportunities than Miles Sanders. All right. We know what Sanders can do, right? He can do that one cut and go. And if he can get around the defense, turn the corner, he could break it for long distance gain. But he doesn't always do that. And sometimes he gets negative yardage. And Gainwell is a guy who is going to make positive yards. He's a guy who's a trustworthy receiver, better pass blocker. And he's a more effective goal line back. Despite not really being a big guy, he's pretty good at it, and he's better than Miles Sanders. So I think I'd take Gainwell over Sanders any day. I also like the fact that out of all these guys here, you look at this list, he's really kind of guaranteed that role, right? Some of these guys could wind up being starters, could not. Gainwell, we know, is going to have an active role, and this is going to be a pretty good offense in Philadelphia. So Gainwell, safe floor in PPR for me, going to score several touchdowns, and so I feel like he's not going to hurt you in standard leagues either. And then if Sanders does go down, then Gainwell all of a sudden could see a huge share of opportunity in that back. All right, Chris, give me another breakout running back that you like at this late stage of the draft.
Well, I love Austin Eckler. You know, he's my guy. I hope he stays healthy. I hope he's awesome again this year. But you can't ignore Isaiah Spiller. Wasn't necessarily one of my favorite, running back prospects coming into this draft, but he's good enough, and he's really good in the passing game. And that's really where Eckler has a ton of his success. And I do think we're going to see maybe a little bit more Isaiah Spiller than we'd like. And I say we, talking about people who have Austin Eckler. I don't think he's going to have a huge role in this offense. But what happens if Austin Eckler does get hurt? Austin Eckler, not necessarily a little guy like people think, but he's not the biggest guy either. He did miss a significant portion of the season just 2 years ago. Isaiah Spiller can fill that Austin Eckler role pretty much perfectly. And that was a problem last year. They didn't have anybody who could be their Austin Eckler, right? Isaiah Spiller can be that guy. He's good enough on the ground to handle that role. Not really an offense that needs a running back to handle 20 carries anyways, but we know he can excel in the passing game, and that's what this Chargers offense really likes. And that's, I think, why they drafted him, because they know that if Eckler goes down, their offense won't really miss much of a beat with Isaiah Spiller in there. Sure, he's not as good as Eckler, but he can get the job done. So another guy like Rachaad White, maybe doesn't have a lot of value early in the season, isn't really doing much. You've got to stash him. You've got to hold him. You've got to, resist the urge to drop him to the waiver wire, because if Austin Eckler misses time, he's going to be the #1 waiver ad without a doubt.
And look, we've seen in recent days, smart drafters, high stakes leagues, and best ball leagues, his ADP is going up because people are starting to realize this guy actually could be a league winner down the stretch, especially if something happens to Eckler. And he's been catching the ball a lot in training camp. So he could see some reception, see some work, even without an Eckler injury. He could have some value. Now, I think it's worth talking about a guy who really deserves his own picture. I'm going to talk about Zeus. That is Zamir White. Look, I love him as a prospect. Loved him before the NFL draft. A lot of people didn't love where he fell, and that was with the Raiders because they got Josh Jacobs as their guy there. And then Kenyon Drake is kind of the backup. But you know what? This is a different Raiders team because they have former Patriots OC Josh McDaniels there. And we know what is he going to do? He's going to have a committee. And not just 2 guys or 3 guys, probably 4 running backs will all get touches. They drafted Zamir White knowing Josh Jacobs is headed toward free agency next year. They declined his option. This is a team that's not committed to Josh Jacobs, and this is a new coaching staff that is not committed to Josh Jacobs. All right, so we're going to see Zamir White really get in on the action, and we've talked about this. I think we mentioned it in our mid-round running backs that we think have top 5 upside video. What matters the most? It's the end of the season. It's the fantasy playoffs. So by that point in the season, that's when we see the rookies start to take off, especially rookie runners, right? Sometimes it takes a few weeks for them to get their feet under them, to carve out a role, whatever it may be. The veteran gets hurt. I think that Zamir White is one of those players that might start out slow, but by middle of the season, he's going to start to be a hot waiver wire pickup. And by the end of the season, he definitely could have that #1 role locked down. Okay, so yeah, it'll be frustrating to see that he's going to be in a committee and, he's not ever going to necessarily see 20-plus carries, right? Nobody in this backfield might do that. But if this is a team that's really going to be as good of an offense as we think, now that they have Devontae Adams there and the underrated Derek Carr, look, he could score enough touchdowns. He's going to be the guy who's going to get the work in between the tackles. He's a tough runner. I think he has double-digit touchdown upside. And I'm not saying that I'm saying that with a straight face, not exaggerating. Absolutely. We've seen Damian Harris and guys like that be fantasy studs without really having to be elite pass catchers, with being in a committee, being in a Josh McDaniels offense. I think that's what Zamir White could be, basically. He could be this year's Damian Harris. All right, now, who do you like at this stage of the draft and late round running backs? You agree with us? Let us know, guys. Join us on the Discord, and we can keep the conversation going. Of course, join us all season long. We're here to help you win, give you the best information possible. All right, thanks for watching.